Hey YouTube, figured I'd give you an update on the Craftsman 101 aka Atlas 6-inch lathe. Figured since I had it apart so many times, I was going to give it a rattle can paint job. And yes, I took the badges off. I didn't just tape them. And I always tape, and sorry for you'll see where my greasy fingers were because I've got other projects, my greasy fingers. But I painted in here too because why would you make this black and silver? And it's tiny to begin with. I'm getting old, so I had to paint in there so I could see. And we figured out what the problem was. If you look right here, okay, someone had dropped that corner. The other corner is not like that. So I got some Dykem, some layout fluid. I figured out where the high spot was, and I lapped this, and we know I lapped this. This is why that bolt hole was higher, okay? So then we put the headstock back together enough without the gearing on the bushings and the bearings there to figure out what was off. Well, when I had the headstock, when I put it in originally, I still had the chuck on. So I went to the chuck. She was still off considerably. She was 15, 20,000. So I don't like to tweak out these little meters. So, it gets about, 14, 15. I don't like it to spin all the way around. So I took the chuck off, went to the base plate. It was still off. Separated the base plate from the nut. Still off. Separated the nut from the spindle, which now I can't do because they're stuck together and I only got one hand. And on the spindle, that needle was barely moving, like 1/1000th if we're lucky. So this is what happened. Somebody, when they cut this, and it doesn't take a precision tool to see that, they cut this arbor off. And I measured her out, and she's definitely off. So, since I don't feel like really figuring out how to cut threads on a machine that's off, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn this down so it is circular, recut a faceplate, and then I'm going to stick a better jaw on it. The jaw that came with it was all messed up. This is a Skinner jaw, 3-jaw chuck. And as you see, I took the plate off. And this plate's fine. They cut this good. I don't know what went wrong here. Were they drunk? I don't know. This is dead nuts accurate. So maybe somebody else got involved. But yeah, this is a Skinner chuck. They're an older chuck. They don't make them anymore. And the jaws are worn out, to say the least. So I took this all apart, greased her up a little bit, cleaned her up a little bit, but I'm not going to use that. I have over here, we all know about the spectral light turning center I own. If you didn't, well, now you're learning. Which is basically a Shoreline mill. So I got this Bison chuck. Okay. 3-jaw, 3-inch chuck. The only reason I took the jaws out was because I wanted to see if they would fit in the old school Skinner, and they didn't. Complete different deal. So we're going to take this base plate off. We're going to cut a new base plate because we cannot reuse the base plate for the Skinner. But we're going to be smart about it. What we're going to do is we're going to cut one base plate that fits both chucks, even though I really need a hammed out old beat up chuck. Like I need a hole in the head, but you never know. So I'll cut a new chuck, back plate for this, and then I'll come in and I'll cut it out also for the skinner. Now you're going to say, well, wait a minute. How are you going to do that? Because right? Well, simply put, I'll lose a little headroom. I'll basically cut it so it's like this. So one side is for the skinner, and then this side would be for the bison. Yeah, I'll lose a little headroom, and it's not going to be that big. It's going to be, yeah, we'll say maybe 3/16 over where it is now. I'm going to do that, for versatility. And that's about it. So that's today. Oh, and before any of you armchair machinists say this is completely not the way to set up, you're correct. I know that. And I know this is a thread cutting bit. I was trying to figure out what was going on with this chuck without using a gauge. And I pretty much had it troubleshot just by doing this. So know your role. I'm not a machinist, but I'm a mechanic, and, I got a logical mind thinking. And then the other thing I want to point out real quick, and it'll take 2 seconds, is you notice the drill hole right here. Well, this is from, and she's going to get a picture when I'm all done, but when this was a beat-up old nasty lathe, and my daughter was in the shop when she was little, on the back, you can make it open its mouth. So I drilled that one day because that was Mr. Lathe, and he used to talk to my daughter. So I figured I'd just share that with you real quick. Cute little story. All right, y'all. When I get her done and we're turning true, I'll come back and we'll update.